Y'all, I guess I should have said prepare to be sick of me. Prepare to be sick of me. So we're not gonna be, I'm gonna be here for a time, but I'm not gonna be here for a long time. You hear me? What I wanted to do today, listen, I got this and I thought, well, it would be, how we do. We read legal documents and things like that. So I wanted to share my screen. All right, here we go. So as you all enter, please make sure you all are hitting that like button. And if you like what you see, make sure that you are subscribing. All right. So listen, we have been going back and forth and back and forth in regards to Don Lemon and and then the people that he was arrested for and indicted for. So we are definitely going to take a look at the indictment. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So it is about 14 pages. We're going to get through these 14 pages. This will probably be a 30 or 40-minute video. So let's get cooking. So as you recall that Don Lemon was arrested today, early this morning. And he was arrested for 3 charges. We're going to go over those 3 charges. And we're going to go over this particular indictment from the grand jury. All right. This is coming from, as you see it across the top here. This is the case number and everything. U.S. District Court. And this is what's interesting to me. We have Nakima Valdez Levy Armstrong, aka Nakima Valdez Levy Pounds. This is one of the 2 black ladies that we saw that was marching into the church. Chantel Louisa Allen, she was another one. William Scott Kelly, I don't know who he is, the DeWoke farmer. He was probably the black man that was holding the camcorder. We have Don Ronaldo Lemon, that's Don Lemon. What's interesting is that they X'd out number 5 and number 9. Then we have Jamel Lydell Lundy. We have Traherne Jean Cruz, and we have Georgia Elise Fort. Now that was Georgia Fort. Now, what's interesting to me, and maybe I am profiling, but all of these names sound like black folk. So I know some of them are activists, and I know 2 of them are reporters. I don't know who the other folks are. I know that the first 3, I remember the first 3 because they were in the church. And I know that they were the activists. I know that Don Lemon and Georgia Fort are journalists, but this Jamel and Traherne, I don't know who these people are. Because remember, I told you in my last video, there was several folks that walked through in that church. Why are these 9 the only ones prosecuted? Did the other ones just plead guilty for a lesser charge? Are they wanting to make examples out of this? Because remember, I said in my last video, what Project 2025 wants to do is take away your First Amendment rights to assemble and a journalist's First Amendment right for free press. So are they using them as this test case? We'll see. We will see. Back again. I found the information and I'm back again, child. We won't be here long. All right. Let's get to so the grand jury charges, and these are the introductory allegations at all times relevant to this indictment. The city's church is a Christian house of worship located in St. Paul, Minnesota. On the morning of Sunday, January 18th at approximately 10:30 a.m., the church's pastor was leading congregation in a liturgical service. In that service, the church's pastor and congregation were then exercising and seeking to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship. a right that is also protected by a federal statute codified Title 18, United States Code, Section 248. Give me just a moment. Let me look these up as we go along. Freedom to access clinics, entrances. This is the freedom to access to clinics, entrances. This is that code. Prohibits the use of force, threat of force, or physical obstruction to intentionally injure, intimidate, or interfere with anyone obtaining or providing reproductive health services or exercising religious freedom at a place of worship. Okay, that's number one. After the service commenced, a group of approximately 20 to 40 agitators, including all of the defendants named in this indictment, entered the church in a coordinated takeover style attack and engaged in acts of oppression, intimidation, threats, interference, and physical obstruction alleged herein. The the government is proposing that they did oppression, intimidation, threats, interference, and physical obstruction. As a result of defendants' conduct, the pastor and congregation were forced to terminate the church's worship service. Congregants fled the church building out of fear for their safety. Other congregants took steps to implement an emergency plan, and young children were left to wonder, as one child put it, if their parents were going to die. Always pay attention to the wording, because remember, I told you in that last video, they play the long game. So even if let's say they do not win this case, the wording is there in the paperwork. So the next case, they're just going to add upon that. And like I've said before, I don't have an issue and problem with people and your activism, but you got to make sure that you're looking at it's one thing to live in the moment. It's another thing to be rash and to do things because you want to be centered in something and not look at the law, look what's going to happen in the long run and how that's going to affect. Because see, they intentionally put these children's information in here because they thought that their parents were going to die. All right, count one, and this is for all the defendants. Conspiracy, and this is what we conspiracy against rights of religious freedom at a place of worship. The allegations set forth in the paragraphs 1 through 4 of this indictment are realleged and incorporated herein by reference. There's an object of the conspiracy, because now they're charging them with conspiracy, that they planned all of this. Because if you watch that stream, he interviewed Nakima, and she was up there explaining all the stuff that she's getting ready to do. Beginning on an unknown date and continuing to on or about January 18th in the state and district of Minnesota, defendants Nakima Valdez Levy Armstrong, Chantel Louise Allen, William Scott Kelly, Don Ronaldo Lemon, somebody who they X'd out, Jamel Lydell Lundy, Trahern Jean Cruz, Georgia Elise Fort, and whoever this person that they blacked out conspired and agreed with one another and with other persons. Do you think them folks that they blacked out? Because my conspiracy head makes me think, were these feds working in this group? Let's continue. conspired and agreed with one another and with other persons known and unknown to the grand jury to injure, oppress, threaten, and intimidate multiple persons, including the clergy, staff, and congregants of the city's church, in the free exercise and enjoyment of the rights and privileges secured to them by the laws of the United States, and because of such persons having exercised such rights, namely exercise of the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of worship, religious worship, as secured by Title 18, United States Section 248, and I read that to you. Manners and means in order to achieve the object of conspiracy. Defendants Armstrong and Allen, together with other persons unknown to the grand jury, organized the operation targeting the church, which they dubbed Operation Pull Up, and promoted it on the internet via Instagram accounts. Well, damn. All defendants met at a shopping center for a pre-op briefing, during which Armstrong and Allen advised other co-conspirators, including defendants Kelly, Lemon, whoever they blacked out, Lundy, Cruz, Ford, and whoever they blacked out, about the target of their operation, and provided instructions on how the operation would be conducted once they arrived at the church. Once at the church, all of these defendants entered the church to conduct a takeover style attack and engage in various acts in furtherance of the conspiracy. Mm, mm, mm. The overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy and to accomplish the object thereof, defendant Armstrong, Kelly, Lemon, blacked out, Lundy, Cruz, Ford, and second blacked out, together with other persons known and unknown to the grand jury, committed various overt acts, including but not limited to: Defendant Armstrong, on or about January 17, 2026, posted a flyer on 2 Instagram accounts controlled by her. They list those accounts advertising an anti-ICE action dubbed Operation Pull Up, telling fellow agitators where to meet to prepare for the operation and exhorting them to be ready to mobilize. Young people, young people, young people. If you're going to commit an act of civil unrest, did you not see how your folks did it back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s? They had non-publicized meetings. Y'all are about to go to jail for 5 to 10 years, but you posting everything online. The hell? Y'all are not acting like activists. Y'all acting like fools. On or about January 17th, defendant Allen posted a similar flyer on her personal Instagram account. Overt act number 3. On the morning of January 18th, all of the named defendants gathered with approximately 20 to 30 other co-conspirators for a pre-operational briefing led by defendants Armstrong and Allen at the parking lot of Cub Foods, and they got you all down here, and they probably got y'all on camera. At the pre-operation briefing, defendants Armstrong and Allen advised other co-conspirators, including defendants Kelly, Lemon, blacked out number 1, Lundy, Cruz, Ford, and blacked out number 2, about the target of their operation, City's Church, and provided instructions on how the operation will be conducted once they arrived. Overt act number 5. On the morning of January 18th, 2026, defendant Lemon began live streaming on his internet based show, The Don Lemon Show, where he explained to his audience that he was in Minnesota with an organization that was gearing up for a quote unquote resistance operation against the federal government immigration policies. And he took steps to maintain operational secrecy by reminding certain co conspirators not to disclose the target of the operation and stepped away momentarily so his mic would not accidentally divulge certain portions of the planning session. During a discussion with defendant Armstrong at the pre-op briefing, defendant Lemon thanked defendant Armstrong for what she was doing and assured her that he was not, quote, not saying what's going on, i.e., was not disclosing the target of the operation. B, defendant Armstrong explained that Operation Pull Up was a clandestine operation in which she and other agitators would show up somewhere that is a key location where the targets don't expect us. And we disrupt business as usual. That's what we're about to go do right now. C, defendant Lemon said he would see her there. Overt act number 7, before headed to the church to join his co-conspirators, defendant Lemon advised his live stream audience that we're going to head to the operation. Again, we're not going to give any of the information away. Operation details that would disclose where he and his co-conspirators were heading. Overt act number 8. At the pre-op briefing, defendant Allen led other co-conspirators in chants that they would use at the church, including "This is what community looks like" and "Ice out of Minnesota." B, urged her co-conspirators that they have a duty to fight for our freedom and a duty to win. And C, as the group prepared to head towards the church, directed her to co-conspirators to stay bumper to bumper, make sure everyone gets through the light, and confirm that everyone had the address. At the pre-op briefing, defendant Armstrong provided instruction and operational guidance to her co-conspirators, including the following. The first wave of agitators should enter the church essentially in an undercover capacity and position themselves around the church sanctuary. They should not sit together and should not wear anything that is activist identifying. And C, oh, and C, excuse me, those who had anything activism identifying should wait and come in with the second wave. Overt act number 10. Continuing on the morning of January 18th, all of the defendants got in vehicles and traveled with their co-conspirators to the church to engage in the planned takeover style operation. Overt act number 11. While en route to the church, defendant First Blank was told defendant Lemon that they had to catch up to the others, and defendant replied, "Let's go catch up." And because he was still live streaming, Lemon instructed Blank number 1 and an unidentified male, "Don't give anything away. Don't divulge information about the operation," and advise his audience, "We can't say too much. We don't want to give it up." Continuing on the morning of January 18th, 2026, all of the defendants, together with the other co-conspirators, entered the church sanctuary, with the first wave positioning themselves amongst the congregants, and the second wave led by defendants Armstrong and Allen, commencing the disruptive takeover operation in which the first wave of agitators then actively joined. Overt act number 13. As the pastor was beginning his sermon, defendant Armstrong interrupted the service with a loud declaration about the church harboring a director of ICE and indicated that the time for judgment had come, and other co-conspirators immediately joined in by yelling and blowing whistles in a takeover attack on the church, all of which quickly caused the situation in the church to become chaotic, menacing, and traumatizing to church members. Overt act number 14. While inside the church, defendant Armstrong, Allen, Kelly, first blank, Lundy, Cruz, and second blank, and others led and or joined with their co-conspirators in various chants, including ice out, hands up, don't shoot, stand up, fight back, with gestures in an aggressive and hostile manner, which congregants and the pastor perceived as threats of violence and a potential prelude to a mass pew-pewing. Let's see if I can do this. Hold up. Oh, maybe not. What happened? Am I still online? Let's see what's going on. I have blanked out. I don't know what happened, y'all. It just went away. And I can't even find the button to refresh. Let's just do that. I don't know what happened. I had to refresh. I'm here, y'all. I'm here. I had to refresh it. It went out. Let me find. Child, I don't know what happened. The whole screen just started blinking. Yes, it just started flashing. Child. I guess maybe I said blank too much. Let's see. Let's see. Let me see if I can get back to it. Yeah. Whew. Give me just 1 second. As comedian Tony Baker says, let me just get my feet together. Let me just get my feet back together. I don't know what. Did I say something wrong? All right. We were on overt act. Okay, maybe because I repeated these words, so we won't do that anymore. So let's go to overt act number 15. While inside the church, defendant Armstrong, Allen, Kelly, Lemon, blank, Lundy, Cruz, Ford, and blank oppressed, threatened, and intimidated the church congregants and pastors by physically occupying the most main aisle and the rows of chairs near the front of the church, engaging in a menacing and threatening behavior for some, chanting and yelling loudly at the pastor and congregants, and or physically obstructing them as they attempted to exit and or about within the church. Over at Act 16, while inside the church, defendant blank stood with other agitators in and around the main aisles in the church to intimidate the church members and obstruct and interfere with their freedom of movement, approached the pastor and congregants in a menacing manner, and near the end of the operation, loudly berated the pastor with questions about Christian nationalism and Christians wanting to have their faith by the law of the land. Over at Act number 17. While inside the church, defendant Lundy personally participated in the disruptive takeover operation with the other defendants by standing in the main aisle with others and contributing to the physical obstruction and intimidation of the congregants, participating loudly in some of the chants. And I'm not going to chant them anymore because I think that's what got my thing blanking. Over at Act 18, while inside the church, defendant Cruz personally participated in the disruptive takeover operation with the other defendants by standing in and around the main aisle with the others and contributing to the physical obstruction and intimidation of the congregants and participating in some of the chants. Over at Act number 19. While inside the church, defendant Kelly disrupted the service by chanting, "This ain't God's house. This is the house of the devil." I just wanted to try it. Approached by one female congregant who was with two young children and demanded to know in a hostile manner why was she not involved in and supporting the takeover operation, and screamed the N word, not Otzi, in congregants' faces and asked child congregants, "Do you know your parents are, ooh, they're going to burn in hell." Defendant Lemon told his live stream audience about the congregants leaving the church and about a young man who Lemon could see was frightened, scared, and crying. And Lemon observed that the congregants' reaction was understandable because the experience was traumatic and uncomfortable, which he said was the purpose. 21, as the operation continued, defendant Lemon acknowledged the nature of it by expressing surprise that the police hadn't yet arrived at the church and admitted knowing that the whole point of the operation is to disrupt. While the takeover operation was underway, defendant Lemon asked defendant Armstrong, "Who is the person that we should talk to? Is there a pastor or something?" And she pointed towards the front of the church but noted the pastor might have run away. Over at Act number 23, with other co-conspirators standing nearby, defendants Lemon, Blank, and Fort approached the pastor. So I'm beginning to think that the long blank may be the person that was holding Don Lemon's camera. Approached the pastor and largely surrounded him to his front and both sides, stood in close proximity to the pastor, and in an attempt to oppress, and intimidate him, and physically obstructed his freedom of movement while Lemon peppered him with questions to promote the operation's message. Over at Act 24, while talking with the pastor, defendant Lemon stood so close to the pastor that Lemon caused the pastor's right hands to graze Lemon, who then admonished the pastor, "Please don't touch me." And then they go on and on and on. Let me see. Other pastors told defendant Lemon and the others to leave the church. Defendant Lemon and the other defendants ignored the pastor's request. That is interesting. After causing most of the congregants to flee, some of the defendants and other agitators engaged in chanting proclaimed, "Who shut this down? We shut this down. Who shut this down? We shut this down." As one congregant reported to responding police officers, some of the agitators blocked the stairs leading to the church's children area and made it difficult and hazardous for parents to retrieve their children, causing some to take alternative routes in or around the church. Overt act number 28. At one point, defendant Lemon posted himself at the main door of the church where he confronted some congregants and physically obstructed them as they tried to exit the church building to challenge them with facts about U.S. immigration policy. As a overt act number 29. As a minivan full of children were preparing to depart from the church, defendant Kelly walked in front of the minivan and angrily yelled at the occupants, and the defendants Armstrong and Ford stood in front of the minivan while Ford interviewed Armstrong. Whoo, that was a lot. So this is for the all defendants. Injure, intimidate. So they're being charged with number 18 USC US Code 248A2B at Section 2A, and this is all the defendants. Intimidate and interfere with exercise of right of religious freedom at a place of worship. The allegations set forth in paragraph 1 through 8 of this indictment are realleged and incorporated hereon. So I guess they're going to go back through all of this stuff. Oh, that's it. We're good. What are y'all thinking? That is the whole indictment, y'all. And if you watch Don Lemon's show, you would have seen this. Now, I don't know if he's taking it down. I'm gonna do a quick check, I'm gonna do a really quick check. Because I don't even see the stream.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the.
Yeah, we got the stream. Now I'm not going to play. I'm just going to tell you right now. I'm not going to play all of it. But what we're going to do is kind of juxtapose it with the indictment. So you remember earlier in the indictment, they talked about them meeting up at a shopping mall. So this is what we hear, because this stream, as I see it, is 6 hours long. And so they talked about 19 overt acts. And we're going to see if we can line up a few of them. So I'm not going to look up the flyers or anything like that. So it says overt act 3 on the morning of January 18th, all of the named defendants gathered with approximately 20 to 30 other co-conspirators for a pre-operation briefing led by defendant Armstrong and Allen at the parking lot of Cub Foods. So this looks like the parking lot. So let's continue. This is all of the people that they said met there. Let me do this. Let me switch my view. All right. These are the people that met there. We're just going to briefly.
Justice for Renee Good!
Justice for Renee Good!
Justice for Renee Good!
Justice for Renee Good!
Okay.
I'm really.
All right. So that's the Chantel girl, and that's the Nakima girl. So the ladies, these are the two ladies here. So let's continue. Here they are in the car. Don Lemon is getting information. You remember they talked about that. And if you want to watch this whole thing, it's 6 hours. It's on Don Lemon's thing. It's called Don Lemon on the Scene, live from Minneapolis. So here they are. Here, let's go back. Here he is.
I can't believe you came up with that. Okay. Someone said there were trolls in the chat.
Okay, so you're talking about trolls in the chat. Here they are, the inside. All right, let's keep going. Here's him interviewing people
I'm
going
a simple
out.
man who loves the
down. So you can go to their
He's
website.
talking to Nakima. Again, he's talking to, I guess these are some of the protesters. He's back in the car. So we're not going to go over any more of it, but I just wanted to give you all just a little taste of what they're talking about and how that matches up with the indictment. All right, people. We will see. Let me tell y'all something. And I'm going to say this. I know the activists in folks are like applauding all of this. But if you grew up when I grew up and having to hear stories about how the people on the other side were going to churches, because I think in recent memory, you remember Dylan Roof going into that house of worship and pew-pewing the people. And other people going to houses of worships that Black folks was in, and they were burning them down. Now, I know a lot of people, are activists and they want to be able to flex their activist muscle. But surely, if you got up to be able to call the press, you should have been able to call an attorney so they could advise you, because you're not dealing with state law, where you may have had a disorderly conduct and disrupting the peace. You went into a church. There are several federal laws against this stuff. You should have known and you should have been aware. In my opinion, it would have been just as easy to march outside of the church, stand outside of the church, and do a rally in the street on public land. Exactly. What is that man's name? Stephen, whatever his name. He did a whole dissertation on Black folks, trying to study us. And like I said, I don't know how much the First Amendment is going to protect him in all of this or not. However, if they called him and told him that they were going to do it, I don't know a reporter in the world that would not be there to film that. But also at some point, if you're going to go with some of those things, and maybe it's just me longing for how the press used to operate back in the day, you would have had something on you to say that you're press. And that's fine. But see, once he crossed that threshold, and if you didn't have anything on you identifying you as press, I know he said it several times, and maybe that's what's going to clear him. I know he said it several times. that he was press. And I don't begrudge anybody from protesting. I really do not. But in the climate that we're in, these people are waiting and are willing to make an example out of some of y'all. And you all can take this the way you want to be able to take it. I just don't like black faces in the front of that. I don't like it at all. Urban Guru said, nah, he became a part of the group. There should have been something to, because like I said, I haven't watched the stream. I only watched like the clips of it. So this is going to be interesting to me, quite interesting to me to see where they happen, because they're going to do whatever they can to try to get somebody. All right, people. We do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video if you care. Y'all, please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos. Bye-bye.